if you look at CDC 3, um, it looks pretty close to CAT 2021, right? Especially the higher percentiles. Um, of course, a shade easier, right? Maybe I think it's more closer to a CAT 2020 than CAT 2021. Uh, if I look at the 99.5 percentile overall, it's about 108. 99 was 104 vis-a-vis 97 in last CAT. Uh, 95, so on. So there's a shade easier than your CAT 2021, right? Uh, in this perspective, Ravi, let me ask you a question. What is your view on what do you think will be the overall cutoffs this year? Would it be more than last CAT 2021, or do you think it will be around the same or a little lesser?
So I think it's because people would have already, when 2020 happened, when the paper came down to 2 hours, the cutoffs were low. The cutoffs were already low, right? Last year we expected the students to have prepared for that 2 hour paper, and probably the cutoff should go a little higher, but that also did not happen. The cutoffs were not very high because the number of questions came down. So if the number of questions almost remain the same in this year, I think the cutoffs may probably increase by 2 or 3 marks at all percentiles, but at probably at higher percentiles about 99. Section wise, there is a chance that it may increase by 2 or 3 marks, making an overall impact of about 6 marks. If you know, if if we take into consideration that students are now used to solving those 66 questions in 40 in those 120 minutes, and if the paper pattern remains the same, I think the students should more or less be comfortable with it. But again, if there is some gimmick that is played over here, if the DILR becomes 4 sets into 5 questions each or 5 sets into 4 questions each, then again the dynamics will completely change, and commenting on the cutoff ends will be very, very difficult.
Yeah. So I also feel that way. I mean, I think this is something that probably must be at your back of your mind. So if the paper is exactly the same as last year's paper, right? I mean, if you find there is a likely chance that on at every percentile the scores might go up by a couple of marks, right? Maybe it might. So overall impact could be about 6 to 8 marks. That's definitely something that I expect. At the topmost, I'm not sure how much change will be there, but in the middle, in your mid 90s, I think there's going to be a huge shift that we will see if the paper pattern is exactly the same, right? So that's so I mean, I was looking at this CDC and then saying that, okay, uh, was the paper a little easier? Was it also that people getting used to a certain format? And of course, the philosophy we said is probably, I think we have peaked in terms of level of difficulty. We will not uh, want to make it tighter and tighter as you get closer to CAT. So we wanted to get a little easier, or probably just about there as far as the CAT uh, is concerned. No surprises. That's something that we said we would want to keep clearly as a part of this CDC. So if I go section by section, right? If I look at CDC 20, CDC 13 verbal vis-a-vis the CAT 2021, right? I think there's a shift of about 4 marks upwards in the 99.5 category, right? Then is a +2. Um, Whereas you see that 95 percentile, there's almost a increase of about 11, I mean close to about 7 odd marks, right? Similarly, we see about when you get to 85 percentile, you see a difference of 9 marks, and when it comes to a 75 percentile, a difference of 11 marks. So we see that the CDC probably is a little this 13 CDC is a little bit easier. People have found it a little more easier compared to what the previous CDCs were. So I mean, this is part of the design. I think the level of difficulty of CDCs will not go up, because I don't think we would want to put a lot of pressure on you in terms of making very difficult CDCs henceforth. So it will be around the same. So we would want to keep it very, very close to cat. And the moment you say it is closer to cat, I think there's always going to be this possibility of you getting a little more marks than what. So one of the things that we see is, I think, the passages uh, very high. I mean, you look at the first passage, look at the passage number 4. There's a pretty high accuracy rate that I see in terms of passage 1 and passage 4, and even passage 3 for that matter. In those questions, I mean, the percentage attempts have also been pretty high, and a couple of questions people have got it right. But there seems to be this dichotomy of attempts versus uh, accuracy in verbal. My suggestion is, don't uh, think too much about it. The one thing that all of you have got into, and I think I'm really happy about that, is verbal ability. You have to attempt, you cannot let that go, right? So I think the general attempts have gone up. On average, attempts have gone up in verbal ability across all the people. And I think it is okay if there's a little bit of accuracy issues. But my suggestion is, even in cat, don't tweak this strategy and not do verbal ability at all. So the RC part of it, all of you are very, very focused on. But I think VARC, there seems to be, I know a lot of students coming ask me, sir, VA कितना करना चाहिए, नहीं करना चाहिए, right? बट मेरा मेरा हिसाब है कि VA तो डेफिनेटली करनी चाहिए. आप अटेम्प्ट कर रहे हो, करो, ठीक है. एंड आई थिंक जो सही होना है वो तो हो ही जाएगा. What was your view of DILR, Ravi?
So DILR, I felt, especially when I was solving the second set, I guess, वो जिसमें chain, snatch and jerk was there, and clean and jerk and snatch, basically that Olympics one. I think
Correct.
that is exactly the kind of a set you may expect in a cat following an Olympics year.
Correct.
मतलब,
So
which of the following?
that was inspired by the Commonwealth Games anyway.
Correct. Yeah, so that is exactly the kind of a set I would expect in a cat if I am sitting there. So I felt that set was straight on point, and it is basically a set that could give you 6 marks straight, 6 questions straight, that is 18 marks straight, if you are ready to spend that 12 to 15 minutes in
Exactly.
that set.
Patience was the
Right.
key. Patience was absolutely the key for that question. Right.
Generally it is seen that people are more comfortable, the students are more comfortable solving a 4 set Venn diagram as compared to a 3 set Venn diagram question. However,
Hmm.
the first set, it was not straightforward in its nature. It was more of a logical thing that you had to figure out in terms of maxima and minima. So I
Hmm.
think that is where I would not be surprised if a very few number of students attempted the first set, but I think second set and third set were there up for the grabs. The only
Hmm.
thing in the third set was to identify that it was a game of ratios more than probably anything. It was a game of numbers in terms of finding out multiples and all, more than anything. So I think there was one odd question, two odd questions in the first set were manageable. The entire second and third set were manageable. So
Hmm.
this was a paper where you could very easily attempt about 10 to 12 questions, and I think that is what shows also in the scores. Yeah, so the
Yeah,
90th
and
percentile is yeah,
very, very close to what we found in the cat 2021. I mean, I think very
right,
eerily close, right? And I think
yeah.
uh, pretty much the my view when we looked at it. uh, I mean, initially is wondering कि क्या है, बहुत ही painful है, second वाला set करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. But I think this funda of patience, keep giving that 15 minutes to do that, right? 6 questions are there for the taking. I think if somebody was patient with the second set, I'm sure that he or she would have found it fairly easy, doable, right? Not, I won't
In
say,
fact, the good part about this paper is that, let us say you look at the second set and you still want to, you feel that okay, 6 question ka hai, this is the difficult set that I would want to leave. The other 6 question set which was there, it was pure arrangement and had no numbers. So if you are someone who is not very comfortable with numbers, then you will probably leave the second set and solve the last set. But the arrangement set
Hmm.
was also probably doable if you got the matrix right in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was
So
again an effort of about 10 to 12 minutes. You read all the points, put everything on the table correctly, and right away you get all six of them in place then. So I think there was enough choice in terms of क्या कर सकते हैं क्या नहीं कर सकते. There was no set as such in the paper which was impossible. Like a javelin throw in slot 3 of CAT 2021. ऐसा कोई set नहीं था.
mm,
So all of the sets were probably manageable. At least a couple of questions or three were manageable in all of the sets, and that is why I can see that there is a little uh, boost in the scores as compared to the previous CDCs.
correct, correct, correct. Right. So I think it kind of shows itself when you look at the DILR section. Um, you look at the last section, almost everybody has done it, right? Second last, I mean, the accuracy for the last section has been phenomenally high. Uh, the six from 29 to 34, we see that people who have attempted questions from 29 to 34, though the attempt percentages has been a little low, but there are lots of people who have uh, the accuracy is pretty high. The third set, for some surprising reason, right? No, but I think the
So
attempts
the
percentage has been a
first set
little low.
was the first set was four questions,
Correct, 25 to
25 to
28,
28.
right?
Yeah, the
Then you have
second set was
29, 29 to
29 to
34,
34. Yeah,
correct. And the
correct.
third
Yeah.
set, if you actually,
So I think
so the third set also, except for the last two questions, I mean, I see that a lot of people have kind of uh, not attempted too much, right? But ठीक है. So I think it is. I would suggest that go through that analysis of that set very thoroughly. It's got a lot of nice concepts. In,
so
in,
so so
in
in short, sir, ये ऐसा paper था. This was a paper in which the four question sets were tougher than the six question
Hmm,
sets. Both of the
hmm,
six question sets were doable. So
hmm.
that is an added advantage when you get this kind of a paper. That
But
you
the
solve.
last
Do,
set,
do you
the
even take?
last set, everybody seems to have got it right. I mean, most a lot of
Yeah,
people have
yeah,
got it right. Whoever has attempted it.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Quant also, I find that I think it's 99.5 cat 2021 is 40, and here it is around 42. 99% is 34, here we are around 38, right? 28 is the 97 percentile. So at least till 90 percentile it seems to be mimicking the cat fairly decently, maximum off by about one question. But um, by design we said that we will want to make it a little easier compared to what जैसे कुछ लोग कह रहे थे लास्ट टाइम वाला पेपर आईआईटी वाला पेपर था, right? The idea is not
Right,
to the idea is also to build a little surprise, but at the same time the surprise need not be something that is very uh, painful in terms of solving in like a IIT kind of question, which is what people kind of relate it with. But there are lots of logical intelligent questions, because I think with fewer questions always uh, there is a decent chance of having a little more logical questions coming in that makes you think a little more, and that's probably what we have tried in the last couple of mocks. So but by design we said that we will make this paper a little more easier than what we did in the last session, last CDC. So there is a good number of yellows and greens here. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 12 greens are there. So I think that itself is a 12 greens and about 12 yellows. So that's a pretty good. I mean, I can very clearly say that you might actually find a cat paper very similar like this, right? In its format, in its level of difficulty, easy, medium, and difficult. There are of course a few questions with a few reds. You see that there are about uh, 8 reds here, right? And that's a decent uh, proportion of the paper that we think. So getting close, I think those who have managed to get about 12 odd questions, 12 to 13 attempts in this paper, have, in my mind, done decently well. So let me go back and Um, so okay, so let me pick up the comments, Ravi.
Yes, sir.
VARC and DLR was easy, but quant was tough, says Beer. Okay. Uh, Ravi sir driving bus. ऐसी रवि सर इज ड्राइविंग एपीएसआरटीसी का बस ऐसे ही लग रहा है ना बिल्कुल.
ऐसा नहीं है सर, ऐसा ऐसा डिमोशन नहीं लिया है मैंने एकदम.
uh, Last and second set was easy. Second and fourth set solved two sets smoothly. Then chose the wrong set for the third one. ये हमेशा होगा अर्जुन. जब when you picked up two sets, I think it's very important for you to not think that I'm going to complete the third set. There, I
सर
think you have to.
chose the wrong set for the third one. इस पेपर में कोई wrong set था ही नहीं. You pick any set you could manage.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
There, as I said, there was no set that was impossible. Any set that was solved, people have decent accuracy. 50% accuracy is there in all the sets
Hmm.
on an
Hmm.
average. So I don't think there was any of the sets which would qualify as a wrong set as such. कि ये सेट तो छोड़ ही देना चाहिए था टाइप सेट तो नहीं था कोई पेपर में. Probably the first set could come a little closer to it, but otherwise, I think set 2, set 3, set 4 were there up for grabs.
ये जो क्वांट डिफिकल्ट है ऐसे कुछ लगा क्या कुछ लोगों को some of you are saying क्वांट लगा थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट आई गॉट 13 क्वांट इन लास्ट सीरीज ओनली 22 इन दिस समझ नहीं आ रहा है सर क्यों अच्छा तो तुम ब्रेक लो ठीक है तुम बहुत ज्यादा कर रहे हो ठीक है ब्रेक लो बिकॉज लास्ट पेपर आई थॉट वाज अ लिटिल आई डोंट नो मैन your view on this my personal view Ravi is that probably quant had many more questions that you can say are I wouldn't say sitters easy questions uh,
So
compared
this,
to last.
I felt this was a paper just to set 2 sets smoothly. And you
Gaurav,
had to
Gaurav.
just do hit and try.
Hmm.
So this was a paper that a guy who likes doing jugad and the guy who likes doing hit and try would absolutely prosper in, right?
Hmm.
While a person who depends on formulae a lot, right, or
Hmm.
knows all the concepts and starts solving by putting let x be equal to let us assume that this variable is x, that
Hmm.
this was not a paper for that kind of a person. This was a
Hmm.
paper more for a person who would think okay let us hit and try, चार वैल्यू रख के देखते हैं क्या होता है टाइप्स.
Hmm.
So even if you look at the very first question जो prime numbers का sum average prime number करना था,
Hmm.
right? So even that from the very beginning it was SI paper. At least there were 7 8 questions which could have been solved using either options or just start randomly putting some values and check hit and try and you'll get through.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Amitesh, I think how many people took the test? Amitesh, will just tell you. I mean, I've not checked the numbers for the latest numbers for this. I think just to tell you that all the, I mean, if I looked at the all the CDCs till now, the average has been around 4,500, right? Some of them we have had 6,700 people taking the test, but overall, I think it is. Sorry, I wouldn't say average. The bare minimum has been around that. So uh, it does. In fact, we will keep this uh, tests open. You can always see that over a period of time, your percentiles might actually change a little bit. Okay, so correct mixture, cat. This is pretty close. Dekho, what we think we do, we always. So there is always if there are 15 CDCs, just to give you a philosophy of what you do, about 10, 11 of them we try to take it as close as possible to the last couple of cats. There are always 4 experimental mocks that we keep in mind. तो जब सीडीसीज में कुछ नया दिखता है अलग दिखता है remember that you need to always have a little bit of surprise. For example, some a couple of prime cats you had all, four four set DI questions, right? I mean, five sets of four questions each. I mean, you must be mentally prepared for something like that, right? I'm not saying uh, आएगा, but आएगा तो you should say हाँ ठीक है आया था, right? um, Correct
आई
mixture
थिंक
तो
सर
देखो
वो जो कैट लेवल का है कि नहीं पेपर वाला जो हिसाब होता है, आई थिंक दैट इज very weird, very weird in its own sense. That question itself is because there is no cat level, bro. मतलब
correct,
slot 1, slot 2 and slot 3 are different levels in different subjects.
absolutely.
ठीक है तीनों स्लॉट में. So if you look at slot 3, the the VRC scores last year, in slot 3 people, their scores fell by about 6 marks when scaling happened. And for the same for DILR, their scores increased by about 5 to 7 marks when scaling happened. So basically, जब एक साल के 3 स्लॉट ही सारे सब्जेक्ट एक जैसे नहीं बनते हैं पेपर, then there is no cat level. So all of these mocks are different experimental levels, so that we make sure that you are ready for probably any kind of difficulty, any kind of level of difficulty the paper might throw at you.
Hmm. Suyash, acha, Gaurav, Jijo is uploading the RCs, RC solution. Most probably it will be uploaded by tonight or maybe tomorrow, right? Jijo sir is the one who is recording this RC. Correct mixture. Acha, Suyash, sir, I'm not able to break the 15 arcs barrier. I don't know, 15 marks barrier in quants. Problem is I take too much time per question and my attempt is average is 8. Right? With 8, 8 marks, 50 मिनट 40 मिनट 5 मिनट पर क्वेश्चन, तुम सही करो. अब तुम 50% एक्यूरेसी है इसका मतलब तुम गलत क्वेश्चंस चूज करो, सिर्फ अरिथमेटिक करो या कुछ करो. ऐसे तो नहीं है कि आठ आठ क्वेश्चन सही नहीं हो सकते हैं. I think Suyash, I think maybe the choice of questions that you're picking up is a little. Uh, how important is probability and PNC for cat? Jagriti at max one or two questions. So don't worry too much about it. If you are comfortable doing it, look at all the past cat papers, their PNC and probability questions. I think that is sufficient for to keep you prepared.
But at the
Um,
same time, if you are also preparing for SNAP, which is only a couple of weeks away from CAT, then probability and PNC is also important, right? So CAT में शायद नहीं आएगा, but other exams are fans of probability and PNC, so you cannot completely ignore that if you are preparing for other exams. Please keep that in mind.
Anshul says, please tell me, should I attempt all questions in VARC or 20 is enough? देखो marks, Anshul, you should only be worried about the marks that you're getting. If you're managing about 35, 36, or maybe 40 is what you are targeting, right? You must attempt as many, but don't do things because you have to do it. I always go into a cat thinking कि अच्छा शायद मुझे 4 questions छोड़ना पड़े इंग्लिश में. अगर हो जाता है तो हो जाएगा, नहीं तो ठीक है. बट डोंट पुश योरसेल्फ. डोंट ट्राई समथिंग न्यू इन एग्जाम. आई थिंक लॉट ऑफ यू विल डू दैट. सडनली आपको लगता है कि यार पिछले 15 या 30 मॉक का कोई मतलब नहीं है, दिस द रियल मॉक, और यहाँ पे पूरा स्ट्रेटेजी चेंज कर दो. डोंट डू दैट. अगर पेपर आसान है तब ठीक है, बात अलग है. व्हाट्स इन स्टोर फॉर फाइनल सीडीसीज? मोटिवेशन. अर्जुन, uh, we'll try to, we'll definitely not demotivate you. That's one thing on the top of our mind. Because if we keep saying ki, see, you look at all the CDCs that you have seen till now, many of them have been close in terms of cat. Some of them have gone a little overboard in terms of level of difficulty. Some of them could be a little underboard. I personally do not want to push it down your throat and make you feel bad in the next two CDCs. But we will try to keep it close to cat. So I wasted 20 minutes in one set and then did last 6 questions in the rest 20 minutes and got 18 marks only. ये लाइफ है, राइट? 20 मिनट्स के बाद तुमको लगा कि बस गलत कर रहा हूँ, ये मेरे ख्याल से आई थिंक दिस इज द thing that we always keep talking about. Ki boss, you must know ki when you
Time
are
value
not.
analysis, sir.
Mm,
टाइम वैल्यू एनालिसिस है सर, वो पूरा सेट करने से तुमको 12 नंबर मिलेंगे.
mm.
तो मैं होता 10 मिनट पे छोड़ देता अगर कुछ नहीं बन रहा हो. because all the questions were individually different questions. It was not about solving the set. It was a particular set which was every question was individually different. So हर
Correct.
क्वेश्चन में तुमको कुछ ना कुछ करना पड़ता है उसके लिए.
Absolutely. Sir, how is the first slot generally cold? Ashmita. If you're in Delhi, you'll feel cold. Otherwise, um, I think obviously people in the first slot have less information, so they are going to be a little more stressed out. But if yours is the first slot, it can work both ways. You say, Acha, I don't carry a strategy in my mind going to the exam hall, right? Um, so don't worry about it. First slot will not be very tougher than the other slot. If at all, I think normally, uh, marginally, the last slot last time was I think a little tougher, right? Ravi, it was probably the toughest one last time.
Last slot, quant and DILR, both of them, the marks got increased when scaling happened, but VRC
Hmm.
was the easiest.
Hmm. ठीक है. So,
So I've got to take your leave, sir. You
sure.
please
Okay.
carry on.
Thanks, Ravi. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bus stop आ गया Ravi sir का. Okay. So, just quickly let me run through your upload GB sir. Acha, GP sir is back in Delhi tomorrow, right? I think the Jugaad solutions will be up tomorrow, end of the day. Scaling up or scaling down in CAT exam is in ratio how much more question you got it right. No, scaling and scaling down actually depends on the level of difficulty of the paper. If that slot, the general performance of the people is a little lower, right? They do normally scale it up, right? So it's a question of the slot wise difficulty across each of the sections. Sir, in VARC, Shubham says, sir, in VARC, I usually score a single, and after the mock, the scores are crossing even my expectations. Sir, kindly tell me the process to break this gap. I think you have to identify what you're doing right when you are analyzing the mock. I mean, I don't know if I mean, see, Shubham, it would be very presumptuous for you to, I mean, for me to believe that sitting here, I know what your problem is. You are the best guy who knows, कि अच्छा, mock I am doing like this, post mock I am doing like this. It seems to be doing, I mean, it seems to be getting my marks seem to be getting better when I do it in this manner, and I think um that's where the entire thing actually keeps shifting. So you have to identify what is fine with you. Sir, how to improve quant score? I can only solve 5 questions and with 100% accuracy. Monte, I mean, ये तो मुझे this tells me कि conceptually कहीं पे गड़बड़ है. ठीक है, तो मेरा सजेशन है कि सिर्फ तुम अगले 10-20 दिन में सिर्फ सब कुछ छोड़ो, सिर्फ कैट के क्वांट के क्वेश्चंस करो, अरिथमेटिक एंड एल्जीब्रा जो तुम करने वाले हो. अगर आपने डिसाइड कर लिया है कि ज्योमेट्री छोड़ना है, छोड़ दो. अरिथमेटिक across all the old cat papers, please do it. I think that would be the best revision for you. Sir, clues in Aladdin are very long in the second set, so by seeing it, I left. I thought so, Samyudeep. What should I do in cat after seeing? Should I keep? See, take a look at the questions also sometimes, right? I think sometimes the question seems a little easier. So whenever something is a little, uh, I mean, it is. That was my first response when I looked at that question. कि ये लंबा है, and hence I need to leave it, but not always. Sometimes lamba ka matlab hope it's possible that you have more information that is given in the questions. My suggestion to you is very simple. I will never prejudge saying that a question is long, right? If you look at the initial part of the instructions, there are hardly any instructions. The table was there, and there are about eight, I think 7 or 8 instructions. So you have to decide saying read the instructions first and say, okay, अच्छा table में सब कुछ बन रहा है, right? And hence, given yourself a little, you have to judge whether the information that is given is okay or not. Sometimes yes, because the instructions are long. I also tend to sometimes feel that way. But since there are numbers here, for example, if it was a choice between the second set vis-a-vis the fourth set, I will always jump to the second set, for the simple reason that here I work with number logic. I always have a problem in doing the arrangement kind of reasoning. So I think I will have to somewhere trust myself, saying कि अच्छा थोड़ा trust करो, uh, you might get a little inspired. So I would definitely, I have given about 15 minutes for this, because every instruction I'm telling, processing in my mind, I need 2 minutes to do a little bit of processing. So seven instructions, seven data points, probably about 13 14 minutes. So if I had given 13 14 minutes, I had given 13 14 minutes to myself, I think I would have done decently well in the second set. Is geometry so much important for cat? Geometry में चार questions तो आएंगे गौरव, ठीक है? How difficult or how easy it is, 20-25% is definitely going to be geometry, right? तीन चार questions 100% आएंगे. If they are easy, fine, but don't skip it completely. That's my suggestion. Sir, how to score in RC, whether it is economical and philosophical? If you have how to score, I mean, that's a very big question, right? Uh, I got overall 95 marks but couldn't clear DILR cutoff. Why is there a steep drop in percentile from 18 to 17 marks in 18 to 17 marks? I need to check this, Amitesh, right? What was your score, Amitesh? How much did you get in LRDI? सर अपलोड जीपी सर वीडियो कर देंगे कल तक जुगाड़, ठीक है? जीपी सर has been touring on practically all the weekends. That's one of the reasons he was not able to join today also. When will the videos be loaded? The videos have been recorded, so let me check. I think it should be loaded by evening today. Was this paper close to cat? See, I think the scores suggest Uday, right? I think our objective is want to keep them as close as to cat. All the papers, right? Whether it is VA, RC or DILR, the balance between quant and DI is what we look at, right? Whereas verbal takes its views, the types of questions that come in. So, I mean, I would always say that CL mocks will be always close to cat. थोड़ा बहुत इधर 5-6% इधर उधर हो सकता है. Fardin, okay. When will the fourth set video solution be out? Fourth set video solution be out. Uh, LRDI, let me check. I think it should be up. CAT official mock is released by one. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter, Priyanshu. CAT official mock क्या होता है? They just give you the interface. It doesn't mean anything. Don't make any meaning out of the official mark कि इतने questions आएंगे, इतने आएंगे. Right? What they do is they pick up the last year's paper and put it in the formats and give it to you, just to get you a sense of what the interface looks like. So don't jump into a cat paper and say, oh, the paper looks like this will be the pattern of the paper. No, they just pick up the old questions and dump it into a format. Sir, मैं DLR में सबसे ज्यादा डरता हूँ. Hope it doesn't go tough in my slot. Hopefully, let's hope. Sir, what will be the approximate number of questions and paper patterns this time? I think it will be more or less the same, Ronak. I don't think it will shift. 66 questions शायद होंगे, right? And I wouldn't. Uh, Gaurav, we will be doing one session in probably next weekend or something, right? Where me, GP sir, Ravi, Jijo, and Arks, and all of us will be there, right? Maybe you can hear it from us. What would be the tips that you must keep for? Just stay working. Last three sectional and mocks, I have changed my VRC strategy to attempt 4 RCs, and my scores have gone down 5 to 10 marks. Should I try for 2 to 3 more sectionals or solve 3 RCs? Satyam, I think beyond November 10th, please don't change any strategies, right? In the sense that if something has been working for you, please get back there. Sir, I tried to, okay, that was, sir, is 29 a decent score in VRC in this mock? Yes, I think so, right? I definitely think so. Sir, was this test close to CAT? Uday, yes. Janil says, sir, my score stuck at 45. How to improve? Pick up, don't focus on attempts, focus on accuracy, in the sense that don't attempt too many things just for the sake of attempting. Try to get things right, because अगर आप छह क्वेश्चन सही करते हो क्वांट में 40 मिनट में, दैट इज अबाउट 18-20 मार्क्स, राइट? अब 45 नहीं, क्यों नहीं आ सकता? right? I think just think about it. Scoring 20, 25 in quants, 2 to 3 wrong. How can I take it to 30 plus? Um, I mean, you have to make sure that whatever wrongs that you're doing. So, the moment you say that I reduce two wrongs, you're basically saying I'm adding 8 marks to it. So, you have to only, if I'm attempting 10 questions, I cannot afford to do three mistakes. To me, that is a, which means the choice of questions probably is not the best. I am from Gurgaon, but my center is in Ghaziabad. So, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं है. जल्दी पहुंच जाना वहां पे. देवांश, ये सबके साथ हुआ है, काफी लोगों के साथ हुआ है. अंशुल सर, अंशुल से बात होगी सर. लास्ट 21 डेज स्ट्रैटेजी रिवाइज करो, राइट? लुक एट ऑल द एरर्स दैट यू हैव डन इन मॉक्स, राइट? एंड make sure that if they don't pick up anything new, or look at the old cat papers. I think that should do well. Anshita says, for someone whose score have been stuck in the range of 45 to 50, how much do I need to worry about scaling? Don't worry about it. Also, there is still room for improvement. Room for improvement, Anshita, will come from you cutting down on your uh, uh, cutting down on your mistakes, right? And let me tell you that I one story about what some I keep repeating this. 4 5 years back, we had, I remember one student who never crossed about 87 88 percentile, right? On the day of cat, because the cat was a little easier, he was bindas and he managed to get about 98% percentile, even to IIM Ahmedabad. So because his profile was like that. So don't worry about it. जितना आपने अभी तक कर लिया. So don't keep worrying about कि उस दिन क्या होने वाला है. उस दिन मैं जाके ऐश करो आप. Good evening. I'm unable to access the video solution to mock. Can you help? Uh, Nishant, I think it should be up, I guess. Is it just this mock or the other mocks? This mock is getting uploaded, Nishant. Hi, Devansh. I teach in uh, online. I mean, I'm part of the head office, so I don't go to any particular center. Very low in VRC, very low accuracy in VRC, difficulty in comprehend. Someone who score how to increase speed in DILR. Jagriti, I think just stay focused on two things. Right at this point in time, don't worry about increasing the speed. Do tell yourself that I need to do 1 2 sets correctly. 40 minutes, if I give you 40 minutes to do 6 questions, right, would you be not able to do it? I think you must ask yourself that question. Nishant, you do you have my number? Can you just if you can send me a personal message, I'll try to get somebody to take a look at it. Earlier, my quant score was 30 marks. In CDC 9, my quant score is 10 to 18. I'm not able to solve the level of quant appearing nowadays in CDC. Myron, I don't think it has gone overboard. I mean, 7 8 questions. I mean, पहले आपको शायद आज वाला पेपर में क्यों नहीं हुआ तुमको? How many, Myron? How many did you get in this year's this particular CDC? This CDC had lots of questions which you could have done easily. Very conventional stuff. एंड 10 मार्क्स तो आई थिंक मेरे मेरे ख्याल से तुम ना पेपर सॉल्व करना बंद करो और सिर्फ रिवाइज कर लो. Monte, I think, see, when you ask that question, sir, can I still improve 5 more attempts? See, improving 5 attempts is like saying a quantum jump. That jump can happen only if the choice of questions that you pick up changes. If you play the same story, same game again and again, how will you change? Nishant, my number is 96500 68470. Please note, send me a message, and maybe I will get somebody to check this out. Um, question selection is always important, Anusmita. The difference between someone who walks out of the paper and say the paper was okay, or and the guy who says paper was tough, is about somebody choosing the questions and making this quick decision to dump and then move on, right? How fast you are in deciding whether you can do it or not, I think is the key to increasing your attempts, especially quant. Sir, I got stuck in quant in the middle. How can you when stuck? Please knock it off your this one, right? Stuck का मतलब क्या है? एक क्वेश्चन में आप स्टक कर सकते हो, दो क्वेश्चन में कर स्टक कर सकते हो. You can't get stuck in the entire section. सर बाकी बचे हुए मॉक्स भी ऐसे ही बना देना. अच्छा ठीक है. अब पेपर तो we, I think we will not make it tough. We will stay as close as possible to cat. That's it. That's the only thing that I can promise from my end. How to handle anxiety for people who have got slot 3. Watch a movie, right? Read a book, right? So anxiety comes from consciously and you know relentlessly thinking about the thing. That's when you get anxious. So if you say ठीक है, अच्छा, I know what the pattern is, मस्ती करो और मूवी देखो या कोई बुक पढ़ो, take your mind off it. That's the only way you will reduce anxiety. No other way. What should be your attempt to get 66%? Ideally, what should be your attempt to get 66% marks? So 66%, if I say, if you're, it is like saying how much should I attempt to get about 120 marks, right? That's, I mean, in your sense, that is what you're saying is your question. So uh, I would say that those who manage to do that typically would do around 20 in verbal, um, about uh, 12 to, I mean, 12 odd in LRDI, and probably about 12 to 15 in your verbal ability. I mean, sorry, quant. So all three put together, your attempts have to get to around 45 in order to be able to get a 66%. So my target, internal target would be something like, okay, 20 plus 12 plus 15. So that was, sir, I think I need some practice. So what should be our attempt? So that was Devan's question. Satyam says, sir, I think I need some practice in revision in quant, but I also think I should give more quant sectional text and mocks. What should I do in the next week? Uh, how many have you taken till now? Satyam, how many sections have you taken till now? Right? If you have done a lot and still think that scores nahi ho raha hai, I mean, it's not going to increase because you're going to take six more tests. You have to go back and look at all the errors that you have done. So if you're not somebody who is very comfortable with doing this math, right, quant, I think that's what you need to do. Revise, practice. I would say revision is very critical at this stage. Rajat bhai, हमारा first है, हम उसका tension है, याद ठीक है. Sir, I have a decent accuracy in VARC, but often not able to solve more than 15 questions. How shall I improve upon it? Accuracy is about 80%. 80% accuracy is good, Nishant, right? Especially in VARC. So, if my suggestion is, you have to get to a point where you're saying, okay, let me get this 15 questions right, right? Or, I mean, if the paper is a little easier, possibly you can push a little. Don't try to artificially push it now. My suggestion is no. Sir, for people who are attempting slot 3, should we get review of slot 1 and slot 2? You, Leela, my point is you must understand, you definitely can take a look at slot 1 and understand what it is. Not for slot 2, right? Not for slot 2. Please don't. Because it doesn't change much, right? It doesn't change much. So slot 1, the whatever is the pattern, what do you need it for? You need to know it for the pattern, but level of difficulty in all this, so you can understand ki, acha, slot 1, what would have been a good strategy, just keep it in your mind. But slot 2, my suggestion is don't desperately look around looking for data in slot 2. It's not going to make any difference to you. सर कैट में सिर्फ कैट के दिन सिर्फ पैटर्न का पता करूं या पूरा डिफिकल्टी भी बाकी दो स्लॉट. तो कुलदीप, आई थिंक आई हैव आंसर्ड योर क्वेश्चन. Before 2 months I was able to attempt 6 to 7 questions having 80 but now I have pushed the attempts to level 12 but accuracy dropped. Maybe you're doing I mean you're doing things that are artificial when it's not your natural speed, right? You're pushing yourself to do faster than what I think is your natural speed. Pavan, practicing one previous year paper in a day is enough now. I think so, Sarah. Should do. Sir, I'm able to do 6 to 8. Acha, Shubham, I'm, can I be able to do 10 to around correct in D day? I mean, it depends on the paper. I mean, I don't see any reason why suddenly 6 to 12 mein jayega, but unless the paper is very easy. Get to see, I think Sky, you must see, make it a point that you attempt about, I mean, you're focusing on 80, 85 percentile in your percentile scores. That will take care of most of the uh, sectional cutoffs. अरे क्लिप कुछ भी हो सकता है ना. I mean, how can we answer such a hypothetical question? If RCs in CAT 2022 gets extremely tough, how to tackle it? And you have to, maybe you will do it. You will know how to do it. Haven't there been mocks where you decided that you're going to do it differently? How is a CAT different from a mock? It's just that on that day maybe your stakes are a little high, but this test taking strategy has to be exactly same like you did for CDC. What should we do if these last 20 days for quant and DILR? I would say revise, um, look at the past papers, right? Look at the CAT papers. I think that's all you should, I mean, kind of focus on. If you want to keep the rhythm of taking LRDI, make sure that you do about a couple of LRDI sets every day, right? I think that should take care. But Shubham, I think able to do 4 to 5 questions after mock is not same as n- it's. I mean, I think this is, you are discounting that process, right? Where you're saying that I couldn't do it in the exam. Of course, you can always do it after the exam. It doesn't make it that you're, because maybe you are under pressure, or that idea didn't strike you while you're taking a test. So that doesn't make it. What it tells me is actually conceptually you know what it is, but at that point in time you couldn't do. But if this is repeatedly happening, when somebody says, sir, I am able to do 7 questions, 7 more questions after the test, it's not same as saying that you will be able to do 7 questions in the next mock. It's just that maybe you need to, under less pressure, maybe you're able to solve it. But that doesn't make no, that doesn't make the pressure disappear, right, in the actual exam. So it is a little hypothetical to think कि अच्छा एग्जाम के बाद मेरे से सॉल्व हो रहे हैं तो एग्जाम के अंदर भी सॉल्व हो जाएंगे. होता नहीं है ऐसे. So what I'm saying is, to summarize, if I can do 8 more questions after the mock, maybe you should be able to attempt about 3 to 4 in the exam, if conceptually you have not got anything wrong. Because you also remember you're reading it for the fourth time after the exam, right? दो बार तो एग्जाम में पढ़ते हो, तीसरी बार when you read something the third time, maybe the new thought strikes. Achha, the other part is, sometimes what happens is, if I solve a question, if I read a question, I can't think of it, I skip, move on, I come back to it 20 minutes later, the same question, I read it now, you will find that maybe the idea strikes. So this is some of the things that happen with us. We should recognize that. So that's why you should skip and move on. मुझे समझ में नहीं आता, मैं skip कर देता हूँ. His actual paper easier than CDEC and Prime. See, I think Sky, the actual paper will be around it. It could be tougher, it could be easier. We don't know what it is. But what we do as a part of the design is, we try to keep it as close as possible to the last couple of cats. Sarah says, I tend to get exhausted by the time I reach quant section. How to conserve energy till last? I think Sarah, um, That's a very relevant question, right? I think this happens with a lot of people. Sunil Gavaskar used to say in his commentary that every time you finish your century, he always used to take fresh guard, right? You would take fresh guard again, which means he's saying, okay, century to ho gaya, agla. I mean, so I must not say, कि, oh, acha, theek hai, mera ho gaya. So this is where I think it's a mental game. It's a mental game where you must say, okay, I need to take fresh guard at the end of finishing my DILR. I hope you solved enough mocks till now, Sarah. Sir, I solved many last year's TSD question, but can't get enough conviction in it. What do I do? Harshit, if you can teach somebody else, if you can explain to somebody else, then you will get the conviction. If you can't explain to somebody else, you have not got the conviction. By just looking at solutions, you don't understand I mean, it doesn't mean that you have looked at a solution, hence you have understood it. You are I will get conviction in a topic only when I think that okay, anybody comes and asks me these questions, I will be able to explain to that person. um, तो ये वाला चेक कर लो. Sir, is taking topic test good idea to revise? It's a good idea to revise. Yes, Leela. Yes, what happens? Anusmita, I didn't know what was that response to. Okay. Is CL quant section at par with CDC quants? Uh, I think you might find it a little tougher too. Sir, for those who have slot one, should look for other two slots for practice. For those who have slot one, should look for other two slots for practice. What does that mean? Cyan, if that is the case, take a break. Taking a break is also a very good strategy sometimes. Sir, is it possible to get video solutions of DILR sectional test? No, not possible to do for sectional test now. Sir, I am able to score 70 to 80 percentile in my mock test till now. What to do to cross 90 on the D day? यश तुम धीरे धीरे चलो. 70 to 80 परसेंटाइल का मतलब आपका स्कोर 60-65 के पास है. पहला स्टॉप है आपको कि 75 मार्क्स लाने का. ठीक है. तो आपका परसेंटाइल बढ़ाने के लिए 70-80 से लेके 90 परसेंटाइल बढ़ाने के लिए आपको 10 मार्क्स बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. टेक वन एट ए टाइम. Sir Jack says, sir, how to reduce the score in score fluctuations? That you can't do because the paper level of paper is different. So scores will fluctuate. What you should be focused on is in the percentile. Is there's huge dip ups and downs in percentile? That is what you must be focused on, not on the scores. Sometimes, for example, your verbal might go up. Sometimes your LRDI might go up, or sometimes your quant might go up. Out of the three sections, one of them will be slightly tougher, one will be a moderate, one will be a easy section. This is typically how the papers are designed. So uh, working on absolutes doesn't matter. It has to be about percentage. ठीक है guys, thank you so much. I'm kind of signing off. All the best. Keep working at it, right? अगले 2 हफ्तों के लिए don't, I mean, you got about 3 weeks now, exactly 3 weeks, I think. You do just keep chipping at it, right? Don't be judgmental about yourself at this point in time. Just stick to what you have to do, right? And those who have to revise, make sure that you do the revision. I hope all of you are keeping a note of the errors that you're doing. It's very important to go back, look at the errors, especially in quant and also in verbal, right? No, you will suddenly see that there's some repetitive trends that are there. It will help you knock off those scores. um, how to tackle the judgment at the time of exam? ठीक है, चलो, बाय, गुड नाइट.